hand to hit you is like 52 miles an hour. The end of these, because of the way they're connected, gets upwards of 175 miles an hour. It's a lot faster. That's why if you train with these in your dojos, a lot of times you'll see silver tape around the ends. It's called retina retention tape. Now, it's not to make these look like you're using glow sticks at a rave, although they're really cool. I'm too old to go to raves, but I went to one last year anyway, and somebody was selling the glow sticks that were connected like that, and somebody let me have 2, so I was doing heavens. It was really cool. And then the grown-up showed up, made me go home. But when you see them, they're moving, they're fast. They put retina retention tape on there because it's supposed to help your eyes track the ends and get used to things moving faster. Because if you can track these while we're doing forms and stuff, it's a lot easier. I go like this and it looks like everything's happening, you know, Matrix style, slow motion. Whoa. Anyway, I have people try that. Kickboxing class, you throw the jab and they're going, whoa, and then the cross comes right here, and then they fall down and go play video games next time we have class. But these, when you watch them, they're in motion, and yes, you can hit with them. But if we're going to talk about weapons of death and not weapons of ouch, there's a difference. For self-defense, if you're going to use a weapon, it's because somebody's trying to hurt you badly. And when we talk about combat effectiveness, we're talking about the ability to end a conflict. And if I hit you with a stick, go whack, it's going to hurt. Probably not going to knock you unconscious or kill you. Or all those people on YouTube don't get up afterwards and go, ow. YouTube. Hitting the funny bone's not what you guys thought of when I said this is the YouTube weapon of fame.
No.
Because every teenage guy I have ever seen using these racks themselves. And it's always funny. If you want to use these, let me let you know a secret. When you're bringing it down, using the recoil to bring it back, look at my leg. Look at my leg. Do you see how I turn my knee out? That's because you don't want to change the angle very much. You bring it down this way, straight down, and when you're going to use your leg to recoil, you only change the angle a little bit. But you turn your leg so it's in the way. You do not keep your leg in place and try to go with the big angle change. Big angle change leads to bad problems. Okay? So if you're going to do that kind of stuff, move your leg into the way, and also, you want to hit with the upper part of this. Not the end that's going fast and going to go whoop. Same thing if you're going to do the hand change. Okay? Has no value in a fight. To bring it around, we'll see if I have room this way. Looks really cool. Doesn't matter. The reason why these were actually effective has nothing to do with spinning them in the air. I know it's not how Enter the Dragon went, but Bruce Lee was showing off how unbelievably fast he was with these. I worked armed security in the projects in Texas. In the great state of Texas, you can get a carry permit for a bazooka.
What? Really?
It's Texas! And I'm only exaggerating this much. I don't think you can actually get a bazooka, but there are some RPGs you can use. However, if you're in law enforcement in Texas, you cannot carry these. And it's not because they're deadly to go whack! Ha ha! I cleared the room now. These are illegal in Texas for how they're actually effective in a fight. You guys familiar with the term tourniquet?
Yeah.
Short, flexible thing with a stick and twist. As a self-defense weapon, these are ridiculously effective when somebody goes to attack and you block it down, wrap it up. Radius and ulna, 2 bones. They run parallel to each other. They're not supposed to touch. Just so we're clear on this. So now that I have the radius and ulna between a chain and I have 2 tighteners right here, I go, snap. Hi, you twitched. Yeah, I know. And see, then you can actually maintain that. You go, snap. Oh, sorry. You can maintain that and then move in for other things. Boom. La la la. Oh, sorry. And that's if you're being nice. You go beyond that, the attack comes in, and we're going here and up. Anybody familiar with Aikido? It's Japanese martial arts, joint locks and throws. We have entering techniques. They're called irimi nage. Irimi is entering, where instead of moving back against their strike, you move in and you take the focus away. And their idea of blending then is to throw you violently onto your back by taking your balance. Empty hand, that strike comes in and you go like this. Assisted. That strike comes in, you go right here. So you are propelling them over and down by use of a chain across their larynx. It's really effective. Clothesline yourself. And for those of you who go, well, what if I duck my chin? Glad you asked. So they duck their chin, you do the same thing. This comes up and you hit them in the mouth with a chain. Sorry, feudal Japan. Dental work, no. Dentures, no. If you miss the mouth, you're hitting the nose. And for the, yeah, and you know that nerve that runs right there that you can pull anybody's head back with? Hi. She hates this panel. It's why I have to buy supper. We always have to go out on the night that we do the ninja panels. And it's never cheap. The end of the nose is cartilage, though. You're going, well, if you can, it's just going to break. You're right. I love you guys. You think of all the really violent things. So you hit here, it skims, it breaks the cartilage of the nose and keeps going. So what you have is you end up with the chain wrapped across the eyebrow ridge. Yeah. Which means you're being thrown violently to the ground by somebody who's slamming you backwards with chain across your eyeballs.
And blood everywhere.
Among other things, they're kind of gooey, like never mind. And if you're really violent, because that wasn't enough. How violent are you? Same beginning. Yeah, how violent are you? We could do a panel like that.
How violent are you?
And then instead of propelling forwards because they're strong and they've got their weight forwards, and you're not. Hi, sweetie. We tried to do this panel the other way, but she hurt me bad enough I couldn't do our next show. Payback, I know.
I believe it.
Instead of propelling them backwards because they're leaning forwards, you just step around like this. We're back to the whole Make-A-Wish thing. And that's why these are illegal in Texas. It was the lawsuits from the broken bones. And so, anyway, these actually were very effective as a self-defense weapon against short-range weapons like the knife. They weren't very good against somebody with a long weapon because you didn't have very much reach with these. Basically empty hand. And if you're spinning them and then striking out, you can't reach very far and your opponent's going to time your movements. So I go here, miss, and she goes, thanks for coming, better luck in your next life. Okay? But Michelangelo made these look really cool. A fellow chucker, eh? But he did too, because the spinning was the part, because never mind, it's all real. Next, ninja weapon of death. Well, we're still talking about farm implements, because that was originally used to thresh wheat. You hit it, it cracked the holes, separated them. Next weapon. This one. This one's my favorite.
What is that?
Okay, it's my second favorite. It's my... Any weapon I have in my hand is my favorite. This is a Kama. It's a common gardening tool. You can go to Walmart and buy one for $11.95.
Oh, yep.
And the odds are you'll break it the first week you have it out and you're digging in the garden because they're not a very strong tool. Okay? What you have to keep in mind when you go look at the $11 version is that's modern America where everything's disposable. 16th century Japan, for the farmers, their tools had to be durable. They were built to last. And just like the samurai swords were passed down generation to generation, in a caste system, if your dad is a farmer, guess what you are? Farmer. Guess what your son's going to be? Farmer. Uh-huh. So the tools were meant to last because they were handed down too. Here's your stick, Michael. Congratulations. But what I'm saying is that the Kama was a lot sturdier than the ones you buy now, like in the martial arts catalogs for $20 a pair. You don't hit anything because they'll break. The Kama was a short, curved blade, sharp on the inside, not on the outside. You used it for digging. But as a combat weapon, it was actually ridiculously effective for close range. Downside for long range, just so you understand what I mean. Long range, I have this. I don't have very much reach. She has a sword. Bro. I can't reach her to kill her or cause damage before she can do something mean to me. And in combat, it's considered a disadvantage if the end pointed at the opponent is not sharp. Got it? Sharp towards me, dull towards her. Wah! Doesn't do it. This is not a good trade. Okay? So the Kama was lacking in reach, but as an infighting weapon, because of the curvature and that nasty point, you see all the horror movies where everybody gets beheaded by a shovel, or they take a ballpoint pen and stick it in their skull and it actually works. Not as easy to penetrate the skull as you'd think, but these could actually do it. The whole thump, nasty weapons. And for combat, that's passing their yeah, hit me with your right hand. Nicely. Here, and this goes, boom, right here, inside the collarbone. Because then it's kind of self-guiding. See how the length of the blade? What I want you to do is picture this. Inside, down. See how far down that goes into the chest cavity? If my wife had a heart, that would be lethal.
Just remember, you have a sword. He has short range.
That just as the throwing starts right there.
And at some point, he has to sleep.
I like the way she thinks.
You wouldn't if you were married to her. But as cool as these are, showing things with the sharp ones are going to get me killed. So in class we have these. This is the practice version.
Oh.
Doesn't look quite so lethal, does it? All of my kids' class people want to come to mixed weapons night. It's every 5th Tuesday because we do the non-traditional weapons, and they all want to fight with ducks.
Really?
But ducks. Sharp, not sharp, very pointy. I know, it's fantasy, play along. Person attacks and you're going here, hooking the wrist with a sharp blade, and then coming in here, right behind the knee, on your way up, here.
Done.
Spinning around, cutting the throat, because it won't actually sever your vertebrae, but if you're going against the front, that's what stops the blade, which means all this goes through. And then while you're behind them, then you go down inside the collarbone again. And then if you can, you go, pull it out and go find someone else to play with because this toy is now broken. Okay? They were horrifically effective for medium range combat, for hooking, cutting. You're going behind the kidneys and yanking through. One of the more basic strikes. Here and pull. You're not trying to hook them. You're trying to go below the ribs, where nothing will stop the blade from coming back out. I know, and you know what's fun? All of my students flinch and grimace and go, oh, that's so gross. I'm like, you're a sword student. Yeah. What do you think this cut does? Well, I guess it cuts them completely in half. Yeah? It's just, it doesn't seem as graphic.
Although, I have a question about that now. If you go for the kidney, won't you hit the spine? If you go too
deep, yes. So what will happen is the outside edge of this is going to rest on the spine, and when you pull, it's going to slide off this way into the kidney and put.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the same principle. That exact same cut works against somebody empty hand if they're coming forwards. You're hooking right here behind the tricep and yanking this way. Told you it was a good weapon. And for those of you going, throw them. You see comma, the little loop ring on the end to attach a chain to, because they have a version of this where you put the chain on it. It's called Kasarigama. It's a short chain with a weight at the end of the chain. And when you see them demonstrating this, you hold the chain, your less dominant hand, you hold the ball, and then the chain in this end, and swing it around. If you see them swinging it this way, they're doing it wrong. Just so you know, because these only had one use. It was not intended to fight against somebody on foot with a sword. Because having a comma like this and you're throwing it out and trying to pull it back will not work in a fight against somebody on foot. I fling it out there, it comes down, I go to retract it, and while I'm pulling the chain back, she cuts my head off. This had no reach, and for farmers to defend themselves,